Good afternoon. So I'm Dasari. I'm from Web3 Foundation. I'm the technical education lead, but I made this presentation in such a way that, it's accessible for diverse audience we have here. And it's also in the spirit of chain agnostic nature of this conference, right? So let's just trace back into time and see like why a project like Polkadot actually started. If you look at the year 2018, so there have been a bunch of blockchains which sort of tried to get the smart contracts going, but they haven't had all of these objectives in place. So they weren't designed to talk to other chains. Scalability, yes, they were trying, but the underlying architecture itself was sort of limiting. The on-chain governance aspect, there was an idea of having a DAO. Again, the way in which like the on-chain governance could be done was still in the early experimentation stage. And one of the key things that sort of affected blockchain ecosystems was the thing about like forking. So there was no way of upgrading blockchains without, having these forks coming into picture. Yep. So, and then the wave of Web3 started, right? So then people started to understand, okay, blockchain is much more than cryptocurrency. It could be used for other applications which will enhance life overall in the digital spectrum, like, on internet. And then people realized that blockchain is where you would anchor this. So a lot of blockchain projects have spawned in starting in 2018. We had Bitcoin and Ethereum going very well at that time, and then we have multiple projects trying to solve all the problems and objectives that I mentioned earlier. So we are one of them, and we definitely believe that chain maximalism, it's not a good thing. That's what we try to like overcome with the technological solution that we offered. We do believe that we can coexist with every other chain out there, right? So that was our vision to begin with. We just to put it all together. So we believe that the future of Web3 isn't based on a single blockchain. So there's no one size fits all. So you need customization as one of the fundamental aspects for any sort of blockchain that you're working with, and the interoperability. Okay. And so coming to the technical design, so we have chosen the sharding architecture from the beginning. So by sharding, you're doing things in parallel, so Ethereum thought about it, but it still hasn't like implemented that architecture. So Polkadot, along with like Near protocol, who are here as well. So we started with this sharding architecture, and the interesting thing about this is these parallel processes, as you can think of them, they can be to do the same kind of task or different kinds of tasks. So that's what the parachains are doing there. So these are parallel blockchains that are running, which can perform same tasks or different tasks. So to summarize that in a technical statement, so Polkadot was this heterogeneous, like sharded multi-chain. As a whole, it's not just a single blockchain, it's multiple blockchains put together, all of them running in parallel. And Polkadot is the chain that is sort of facilitating, communication between them, and it's also providing security to them. Now, if you look at how Ethereum sort of emerged, and in this year, like 2024, you're seeing a lot of L2 narrative. So that was all thought about like much earlier in Polkadot, right? So if you think of all of these different blockchains running on top of Polkadot, they were all optimized for that task. So Ethereum, when it was designed, it didn't have something running on top in picture, but from bottom up, like Polkadot was thought of from the beginning of what's excelling right now. And yeah, so fundamentally, like we at Polkadot chose these technologies to drive adoption. We chose like Rust, which is a general purpose programming language with very high guarantees in terms of like code and performance, rather than like Solidity. And then we chose WebAssembly, like WASM, as our virtual machine instead of EVM. So it's a blessing and a curse if you think of it. So not many people are familiar with these technologies. There's a lot of capital flowing into developing smart contracts in Solidity, or for now. But the point being, this is the best technology that was available back in the day when Polkadot started, and we chose that. And the interesting thing that Polkadot integrated is the forkless upgrades, the way the chain can upgrade itself. So if we were to change into something new, there's a chance. So WebAssembly could be generated with multiple programming languages. So we chose like just Rust here. So, okay. So, and then if you see the Polkadot network today, so we're producing blocks every 6 seconds. There's about like 300 validators producing these blocks. And we have parachains that I mentioned, which are fine-tuned to specific use cases. Identity, you're going to hear more about that like later on. DeFi, Internet of Things, AI. So there are different use cases for blockchain, and all of them are trying to find their home on Polkadot. So we have about 50 parachains that are live right now. So that's 50 different blockchains, all of them being like secured block by block every 6 seconds. Now, there are a couple of things I want to highlight. So Polkadot has 6 seconds block time, but parachains right now have about 12 seconds of block time, which seems a little low when what it could actually achieve. So today's talk's theme is that, like, what's next on Polkadot. So I'm going to explain like how we have identified some pain points in the ecosystem, and then we're trying to improve for having adoption. So that's the theme of today's talk, like what's next, right? So if you're curious to see like what's going on in Polkadot ecosystem and see like where you can get involved, the information I have here might be useful for you. Yeah, so you're going to hear a lot more about what we're doing with like agile core time. So what we're doing is, there are so many ghost chains out there. A lot of these blockchains producing blocks, 24/7, even though there are no transactions happening in the network. So Polkadot and parachains are not an exception to this. Like, there are chains that are constantly producing these blocks when it's not required. So what Polkadot did was it provided a solution. You can produce a block when you need it. So there are a few applications that might just need a block production like every day or every hour. You don't need to put or anchor your transactions into the ledger like every 6 seconds. So Agile Core Time does that, and it is sort of eliminated the Polkadot auction model, like for getting a slot, in favor of this Agile Core Time. So now I could go to universities, give them some dot, and then they could actually deploy a blockchain in 2 hours. So technical educator is also going to push forward this idea and then sort of try to gain a lot of adoption. The other thing is, we've improved parachain performance by almost 10 times with what we call asynchronous packing. It's basically a consensus optimization. So parachains are able to now produce blocks every 6 seconds instead of 12. And then there's a 10 times increase in terms of like the number of transactions that could be processed on the parachains. So that's good. And a lot of like Polkadot's functionality is moving into these what we call system chains. So you need not view them as a separate chains. They are integral part of Polkadot. So there's a dedicated chain for assets. So right now, if you look at Binance and see what's the cheapest way to transfer USDC, so it's on Asset Hub. So it's almost 100 times lower than the other options that are available. And all of this is possible because of the architecture we have here. So, and then there's a bridge hub, which tries to bridge to other ecosystems. yeah, so we have recently launched a people chain too, which takes care of identities. And we have like cool cross-chain applications. So right now, if you are a core Polkadot developer, you become part of fellowship, and the fellowship is being given salary every month or so through this cross-chain app. So it's sort of like getting exchanging like dot in one of its parachains and then minting the assets on the asset hub. So the cross-chain communication, it's picking up. Almost 30 parachains have signed up for this, and they're interacting every day. And yeah, so I want to highlight this in today's talk because there's so many people from other ecosystems present here. Right now, Polkadot only has bridges enabled to Kusama and Ethereum. We already have a Bitcoin bridge. But again, if you're interested, you could also try to deploy like the bridging code on the Bridge Hub, and that enables trustless bridging to your ecosystem. And yeah, so the UX of Polkadot is bad, is something in the past right now. So we have a lot of wallets that are very usable. I would request you to download one of these and then try experimenting with the features that it provides. And yeah, so the biggest thing happening in Polkadot right now is OpenGov, right? So we have the governance, a very thought out like governance model, which is attracting a lot of attention and activity. So we have about like 28 million DOT at the disposal of the Polkadot community, which is accessible through this OpenGov. And as you can see, there are 65 active proposals right now. You know, there's a lot of, it speaks volumes about how much the community is involved in governance. And as a part of like Web3 Foundation, we are also doing a lot of effort to decentralize Polkadot ecosystem further. So we launched this program called Decentralized Futures. Okay, so one way is Polkadot Treasury, and the other way is to get funding through Web3 Foundation if you're in the ecosystem. So we set aside almost like $40 million this year, and we are bootstrapping a lot of external entities to start contributing to Polkadot and become like self-sustainable. Yeah, so the deadline for that is like December, and overall, like we're moving towards like this paradigm where, you know, block space, it's a resource, right? Like how do you efficiently utilize and create cool stuff using this? So that's what Polkadot is headed in. And finally, the feature that we're looking forward is elastic scaling. Yes, there are blockchains that need not produce blocks every 6 seconds, but there are also things or events like CryptoKitties that happened on Ethereum, which broke them, inscriptions craze, which has broken a couple of chains. So when there is demand to have a lot of activity on blockchain, can your network elastically scale towards it? So we are also offering that solution. You know, if you have like 1 million NFTs to mint and all of that has to happen in an hour, you can get that through this elastic scaling feature, which might go live, in Q3 this year. And then there is Jam. So this is in the distant future. This is like a candidate for what Polkadot could potentially transform into. It's a culmination of all the, proof of concepts we already delivered and putting them all together and improving them even sort of further. If you're interested, check out the Jam paper. And if you have more questions, I'm available to answer about like Polkadot. Thank you.